Our top stories this week. In Arizona, Governor Brewer's all-new standalone child protective agency is reverting back to its old evil ways, like jacking up the number of child snatchings to all new highs. In Florida, the child protective industry is implementing a new investigation method in light of recent failures, which will enable CPS agents to go even further up the asses of their victims. In Indiana, the child protective industry is failing to comply with a state law by making the caseloads of CPS agents too high. In Oklahoma, the child protective industry has been put on notice to make good faith improvements to their foster care system, or else, as was outlined in a 2008 class action lawsuit. And in Texas, a state investigator files a whistleblower lawsuit saying he was fired after he raised complaints about how they handled child abuse deaths. In Iowa, a group of protesters who want their kids back hold an Adoption Day rally outside of the courthouse. And in England, the British Association of Social Workers has launched an investigation into why the number of adoptions has shot up by 26% in the last year, with the dwindling number of social workers in the profession being blamed as spending less time trying to save families and more time snatching the kids instead. In Iowa, a CPS agent stands accused of hitting 2 children. In Massachusetts, a CPS agent takes the wrong kid out of a school. And in New Jersey, a CPS agent was stabbed 21 times with a kitchen knife while meeting with a client in her office building. The number of homeless children in the United States is at an all-time high, and a U.S. Department of Labor study finds that at least 10% of the world's children are at forced labor. In England, the government is trying to hide the effects of cuts to legal aid for the poor, thus leaving children and domestic violence victims without representation. And the British High Court rules that family court hearings where a jail sentence is at stake should never be heard in secret. In Manitoba, Canada, the child protective industry is recruiting more foster parents and care workers so they can stop placing kids in motel rooms. In Texas, the high number of child snatchings crossed with the lack of available foster homes in Grayson County is forcing CPS agents to place kids far away. In Nevada, the Clark County child protective industry settles a lawsuit against 7 foster kids for $2 million. And in Oklahoma, a foster kid is attacked by a dog. In Nevada, a jury acquits a man for sexually assaulting a foster child. In Phoenix, Arizona, a man gets 15 years in prison for abusing foster kids. In Nebraska, a foster father stands accused of having sex with a 13-year-old girl in his care. And another Nebraska foster father gets 95 to 100 years for molesting kids in his care. In California, a man pleads guilty and gets 24.5 years for shaking a little foster kid to death. In Minnesota, a couple of foster parents loses their license after the kid dies in their care. A British social worker has been accused of falsifying records to hide missed appointments with kids who she was supposed to be protecting. And finally, tonight in Pennsylvania, the American Civil Liberties Union is suing the child protective industry for not paying a woman to care for foster children because they were related to her. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.